Hello and welcome to today's video. I am playing a grass flood deck utilizing cherrim, and my opponent is playing a hydro pump water deck using both Frostmoth and Max Caliber. I'm going second, no mulligans for either one of us, so it's just a regular setup for both of us. I start with Brambless, my opponent starts Snom, then he's going to play a Hisuian Heavy Ball to go ahead and see what is prized, which yikes. That is some awful prizes. His Palafin is prized, his Octillery, his Frostmoth, his early acceleration, and his Whale. Those are all prized. He doesn't even care about that last card because, like, his whole deck is prized. So he goes for Buddy Poffin. He knows his Inteleon line is intact, so he is definitely going for that. The only other thing he is grabbing is that Frigiback, so he can try to start evolving and get his Hydro Pump acceleration. And he manual attaches to Sobble, since that's the only early board attack pressure he has at the moment. I draw for turn, and I also play a Hisuian Heavy Ball. My plan here is to see what my prizes are, and if I have anything rough prized, to immediately go for that Gladion. Now, my prizes aren't horrible, so I just grabbed the Zarude, I bench him. I know immediately I'm not needing to play Gladion anymore, and I have a couple of choices of supporter, but currently eyeing up Sycamore or Arven, and I settle upon Arven since it is a more precise search. And with the Arven, I go grab the Nest Ball. I could have theoretically gone for Buddy Poffin, but I thought about just going for the Nest Ball in this scenario. And though this deck doesn't play Volbeat, Gossifleur searches for 3 guys and is technically butter. So I go and search out the Gossifleur to put him on my bench, and I grab the Air Balloon when I realistically should have grabbed Floatstone because I forgot that Brambleghast has 3 retreat instead of 2 that Bramblin has. And I retreat and I go for a Call for Family. Now the guys I am looking to set up here is the Turtwig so I can get an early Groudle, Charuby so I can have Cherrim on board as quickly as possible, and a Roselia so I can get an early Roserade and get whatever I need for my deck, and that ends my turn. Now my game plan against water is to outpace it. I need to be faster in every which way and get my guys online. My opponent is going to Iono me here, not a big deal, and I end up getting a way better hand too. He Iono me straight into my Roserade, so I am pretty stoked about that. Next turn I can get whatever card I want and really get my board set up. My opponent benches Veluza and goes for a Capacious Bucket, getting 2 water energy out of his deck and checking what he can really do. His options are pretty limited with those really rough prizes, and he opts to just manual attach to Snomp, so he has the retreat option and to go for the Call for Family to get the last bench spot filled, and it's going to be the Kyogre. That Kyogre is very scary and can easily wipe out an important part of my board like the Cherrim. I immediately start my turn with that Roserade. I don't even look at my top deck too much because I knew immediately my Roserade was the most important move I had to make, and I decided to go here for the turf field play, and after a lot of consideration I go for Groudle into Cherrim. I did not get Eldegoss, nor did I have the room to get Eldegoss in my hand, so I play Gardenia's Vigor because I see this is my only chance to potentially get an attack off this turn, which was extremely important to me. I felt like if I gave my opponent any more time to set up, the tide could easily turn in his favor. Though I do not get a second energy off of the Gardenia's Vigor, I do find an Earthen Vessel, which I use discarding Lana's Aid to get 2 more energy to hand, which I can instantly accelerate into play with the Cherrim. That plus the energy accelerated with the Gardenia means I can attack this turn. So I pay for a retreat and I go into Zarude and I smack that little Stomp out of existence for a meager 80 damage. I choose to keep the energy on Zarude. It might have been smarter in hindsight to return all of them to hand, as I run into a bit of an energy crisis later in this game. My opponent manual attaches to his active Sobble, and he goes and plays VS Seeker for Iono once again. I got Brambleghast off of prizes, so it's sad to see him go, but if he doesn't Stadium Bump, I have both Groudle and Turffield to get my whole board set up. My opponent goes for Level Ball, grabs Manaphy, and with Pokecom, he whisks away that Manaphy, grabs and gets Inteleon out and goes Rare Candy Inteleon. and he also gets any 2 trainers out of his deck off of this play. Now the trainers he ends up grabbing Evo Incense, and he grabs the Rosa. He's expecting his Inteleon to go down, so grabbing the Rosa makes a lot of sense, as it will give him the energy, Pokemon, and resources needed to get his second attacker. He uses Evo Incense to get the Artibax out, and that is 120 damage from nowhere, KOing my Zarude and putting the 20 snipe onto Grottle. I promote my Ramblin since he has free retreat at the moment, and go for a Turffield and Grottle immediately. Off of this, I am grabbing the Torterra and Brambleghast. Now I need to retreat before I evolve into Brambleghast because I forget that he's a chonky boy and Air Balloon doesn't work on him, but I go ahead, evolve into Torterra, accelerate 2 energy onto him using Spring Bloom from Cherrim, and I decide to play Ball Guy here as well to get the rest of my board set up, and that is going to be Level Ball, Ultra Ball, and Heavy Ball. With the Level Ball, I go and grab the Eldegoss. With the Heavy Ball, I go and grab the Tapu Bulu, but I hold it in hand, and I hold the Ultra Ball in hand as well. I also have Net Ball in hand, and I'm trying to debate how to get Tropius out as well, because I really want that as a tempo changer. I evolve into Brambleghast, I promote the Torterra, and I go with Eldegoss to grab 2 more energy from deck. Now I play the Netball and decide to go grab the Tropius so I can go ahead and immediately put the energy, because I'm kind of expecting Torterra to go down next turn and I really want the Tropius to attack so I can accelerate the energy onto the Tapu Bulu, who I am planning to bench next. And now I go for the attack, and that is a whopping 200 damage for the clean KO on Inteleon, and I get a Grass Energy as a prize. My opponent promotes his Veluza and draws for turn. He evolves immediately his little Funizen into the Palafin he got off of prizes, and plays a Rosa this turn as well. Here I am expecting him to get his engine online and energy to attack, and that's what he does. He gets the Bax, Water Energy, and Force Trainer settles upon Professor's Litter to get a couple more energy out and fully charge up his board. And with the Baxcalibur, he is able to accelerate those all into play. He puts 2 onto the Palafin, which initially surprised me until he revealed Scoop Up Net to remove Veluza from active. He still has a couple more energy in hand and accelerates that onto the Veluza on the bench, so he has a backup attacker, and then uses Justice Kick for 210 damage, knocking out more Torterra. Now here I decide to promote Tropius because it's the closest to being powered up to attack, and I attach energy while also benching the Bulu, and I figure here I have enough energy in deck to power up Bulu, of course I do. And then I use Eldegoss and find 1 energy. I accelerate it to Brambleghast, but I have suddenly realized I'm stuck with a Tropius in the active who is 20 damage short of KOing my opponent's active Palafin. I Cynthia, I get VS Seeker, it's one of my options that feels pretty good. I also get Scoop Up Net, and I decide why not. I'll scoop up and put the Roselia down. That gives me a Roserade next turn, even though I am bumping my own stadium with Training Court, so it's not guaranteed if he shuffles my hand. I have to play Training Court in this instance because I am clean out of energies. And it is at this point in the match I realize I'm not KOing with Tropius. I thought it was guaranteed, but I did not do math. I look around for a bit, see if I have anything I could do, but since I don't, I just attack for 130, missing the KO, and move all the energy to Bulu. Now my opponent here was not quite expecting me to miss the KO on Palafin. So my opponent sits there wondering what exactly to do. He looks at his hand, looks at his options, he has Training Court available. He decides, first of all, he's gonna Floatstone his Palafin and then immediately go for the Training Court, get the energy back. That's why I was debating about playing the Training Court. I knew my opponent would benefit from it as much as me, but I was completely out of energy, so I needed to play it. He looks at playing the Superior Energy Retrieval, but when he realizes he basically only has 1 or 2 energy in his discard pile, he takes that play back. And he uses Baxcalibur to charge up that Veluza and free retreats into his Baxcalibur, plays Tate and Liza to switch back into his Palafin and taking the swing with his injured boy. That is Tropius gone. I promote up my Brambleghast as he's the only guy with retreat right now. Honestly, I could have gone straight into Tapu Bulu and there had been no problems. Since my hand was not disrupted, I can play Roserade right away and get a card. I do not reveal it right away. I had Lux Cape in hand and I decide to put it on my Bulu, and I use Training Court to get that energy back from retreating. And I play Hex. That is what I grabbed with my Roserade. So I Hex kill, take the KO with Tapu Bulu, doing 30 damage recoil to myself. Now my opponent here cannot accelerate a whole bunch of energies onto his Veluza to take a scaled KO. He is going to have to find Field Blower somehow. He uses a Training Court to get his free energy for turn, but he can only attach one. And then plays an Irida. With this Irida, he gets Field Blower and Wailmer. And I'm kind of upset that he got Field Blower right away, and with Field Blower, he gets rid of my Flex Cape and Air Balloon. Training Court is too important to him as well, so he just leaves it in play and then uses Veluza to take the easy KO, powering up the Kyogre with that energy he got for turn. Now here, I don't exactly want to go into Brambleghast, but that's my only option that's near powered up, so I go into him and draw for turn. I have superior energy retrieval. I'm discarding Letter since it doesn't do anything, and Artisan to get 4 energy back. And with Training Court, I have one more as well. And that gives me a grand total of 5 grass energy to do whatever I want with this turn. Obviously, there's going to be 2 going onto Brambleghast, so I have at least a guaranteed 50% shot at KOing Veluza, and I decide to hold the rest in hand. I use VS Seeker to replay Hex. I was debating a lot about playing Lana's Aid or Hex, but I go for the Hex play here because if I Lana Aid and let him put those 2 water energy wherever he wants, he is going to be able to kill something next turn with Kyogre, so I really need to shut off Veluza's ability, so that is why I played that Hex. I get 2 heads with my Brambleghast, and that is 160 damage, knocking out Veluza, and my opponent goes into the Wailmer and draws for turn. He has the Wailord, he got it off of prizes, and uses Training Court to get 1 energy back into hand once again. Now, he still doesn't have Baxcalibur online, but he does have a Guzma, and he guessed up the Cherrim, manual attaches an energy to Kyogre for turn, and uses Wave Summoning to get 1 more energy out of deck, so if I don't do anything about Kyogre next turn, he's going to be able to KO anything on my board except for that Brambleghast with a ton of HP. But I have 3 energy in hand still, because I saved it from my superior energy, so I can just flood 2 energy straight onto Cherrim, and then Training Court 1 back to hand. I put 2 more energy on Brambleghast, and that gives me a lot of energy, and I had Ion on hand. I don't know what resources my opponent has in hand, but he had a rather big hand, and I did not want him to have access to resources, and I find a lucky Field Blower off of my own Iono, so I can get rid of that Training Court that was benefiting my opponent so much, and just go for the Brambleghast. I get 1 heads, I get 2 heads, and then I get a 3rd heads. And that is 3 heads for 240 damage because it's 80 times, and that is the KO. And my opponent goes into Wailord. He only has Manaphy, and he plays the end to see what resources he potentially could get, but unfortunately for him, he doesn't really find anything, and he straight up concedes. There's just nothing left for him to do to get this game back. I am very happy and pleased with how I played. I was very aggressive and played Hex at the right time. I was genuinely scared of my opponent hexed me at the wrong time, so I am glad it turned out as it did. There is one misplay I saw myself doing, and that was the turn I powered up my Tropius. I should have looked at the math, realized I was 20 damage short, and used Eldegoss before attaching any energy for turn. If I had done that, I would have realized that I could kill with Bulu that turn if I retreated and used my resources correctly, but I didn't. Anyways, I hope you guys found this video entertaining, and if you did, be sure to share it with a friend and subscribe for more in the future. And I'll see you guys all in next week's video. Bye!